Hey guys, it's Courtney from Wonder in English at wonderinenglish.com, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about law and crime in the United States. So we're going to learn some vocabulary and talk about some fun things like law and order. Let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the basics. There are two different types of courts. The first is a civil court, and the second is a criminal court. So the civil court is where they hold disputes like for custody when two parents are getting divorced and they need to know who gets the child. They will go to a civil court. Or for example, if you go bankrupt and your house goes into foreclosure, meaning that you can't pay for your house, then you would go to civil court. But if you stab somebody or if you rob somebody and commit a serious crime, that would go to criminal court. Anything that hurts somebody in a serious way, that will go to criminal court. So all of the facts and all of the statements that took place about the event or the crime that happened are all put in a case. So that's what it's called, a case. And that case goes to trial. Trial is synonymous for hearing as well. So if you have a hearing in the United States, you have a trial, meaning that you take a case with all the facts about what happened and you go to a courthouse. In the courthouse, you sit in front of a judge and a jury. So the judge is the person who decides whether or not that person is guilty, and the jury are people from the public that are there to help the judge decide. But what about the other people in the court? Well, there's a lot of other roles, but I'm going to mention of the few most important ones. For example, the plaintiff. Who's the plaintiff? This is the person that brought the lawsuit to court. So they say, you did something wrong. We're going to court. That is the plaintiff. Then you have the offender, and this is somebody who is blamed for whatever went wrong. So the offender is the person who is bad, possibly. They're being accused of a crime. That doesn't mean they committed a crime. It just means that somebody said they did a crime. So when someone accuses you of something, it just means that they said that you did it. It doesn't mean that you actually did it. Also, if you notice there, I said commit a crime. So whenever somebody does a crime, we say commit a crime. If you're in a criminal court, then actually the person being accused of a crime is called the defendant, because they are there with their attorney or their lawyer to defend themselves. So each party gets an attorney. One is a defense attorney and one is a plaintiff's attorney. And if you've ever seen Law and Order, then I'm sure that you've seen a witness take the stand. So what does that mean? When someone takes a stand, they go and they sit next to the judge and they talk to the people. They talk to the lawyers, the audience, and the jury on the side. And what they do is they answer the questions that the attorney is asking them. So they witnessed the crime, or maybe they're talking about a person's character. So maybe they didn't see the crime, but they are acting as a witness of that person's character, of their morals. So maybe they're a really good person and they want to say, no, the defendant couldn't be guilty because I was with him on that day and he's such a good person. I grew up with him. He would never do that. So when the defendant goes into court, they have an innocent or a guilty plea. So a plea is an official statement saying whether or not you've done something. If you think that you're innocent and you didn't commit the crime, you plead innocent. If you plead guilty, then you're saying, I did it, and you're actually refusing certain rights, like a right to a normal trial. So we talked earlier about accusing someone of something. So if I accuse you of doing something, you may have done it or not. But if you charge someone with something, that means that you think that they did it and now they're going to be punished for it. For example, If I murdered someone, I would go to criminal court and they would accuse me of murder, and then I would give my testimony, which is my speech saying whether or not I've done it, answering questions, things like this. And then at the end, the judge will decide to charge me with that murder. And that's the case where he says, yes, you've done this, and now you have to go to jail to pay the consequence of it. So this charge is called the judge's ruling or the verdict. So whenever you make a decision as a judge, that is your ruling or your verdict of whether or not that person is innocent or guilty. So what does a judge make the decision based off of? Well, there are various things that he takes into account, meaning that he notices and uses to make his decision. So one of them is called precedent. And what precedent means is it took place before and it set the standard for what is to come. So, for example, if I accidentally killed somebody, well, the judge would base his decision of how many years I go to prison based off of a similar case that happened before. So if someone before me accidentally killed someone in a car accident and he got 5 years in prison, and then I did the same thing or something similar, then I would probably get 5 years in prison because of the precedent of the previous case. So the outcome of the previous case often dictates what will happen in the future to me.